In the heart of South America, shrouded by an emerald sea of foliage and veiled by thick mists rising from the forest floor, lies one of the world's most enigmatic regions, the Amazon rainforest. It's a place of ancient power, home to creatures still unknown to science and secrets buried beneath centuries of vines and silence. But within this primal wilderness, nestled near the borders of Brazil and Venezuela, lives a people as mysterious as the jungle itself, the Yanomami tribe. For centuries, the Yanomami remained unseen, unheard, and untouched by the outside world. Their home, dense, labyrinthine, and impenetrable, shielded them from colonizers, missionaries, and mapmakers alike. But the forest doesn't just protect, it also isolates. And within that isolation, a culture evolved, raw, complex, spiritual, and deeply entwined with the rhythms of the earth. To most of the modern world, the Amazon is a place of legend, a place of rivers that bleed like veins across the continent, teeming with life, yet echoing with silence. But for the Yanomami, it is not just a habitat. It is everything. The trees, the spirits, the animals, the rivers, all are part of a vast and interconnected world where the boundaries between the physical and spiritual dissolve like morning fog. What makes the Yanomami so fascinating, and to some unsettling, is not just that they live differently, but that they seem to have existed outside of time. Their society, rooted in ancient customs, reveres the forest not as a resource but as a living entity, a guardian and god. Their language is no word for nature, because to them, nature is not separate. They are nature. Anthropologists who first encountered them in the 20th century described them as Stone Age people. But that label is misleading and reductive. The Yanomami are not relics of the past. They are survivors of a world that has forgotten how to listen to the earth. Their lives are rich with ritual, layered with meaning, and governed by a complex social structure that values balance, courage, and connection to the spiritual realm. But this story is not just about anthropology. It is a mystery, a puzzle with missing pieces, scattered by time and buried under canopy. The questions swirl like the forest mist. Who are the Yanomami, really? How did they maintain their autonomy for so long? What secrets do they guard, not just cultural, but cosmic? And what does the modern world owe them now that our presence, however well-intentioned, has left its mark? In the coming episodes, we'll journey through these layers, uncovering tales of first contact, spiritual rituals, shamanic healers, conflict with gold miners, and devastating brushes with disease. We'll meet the outsiders who tried to save them and the ones who nearly destroyed them. We'll delve into myths of forest spirits that haunt the night and examine whether the greatest mystery is not the Yanomami themselves, but how much we've yet to learn from them. The Amazon has often been called the lungs of the planet, but it's also its memory. And the Yanomami, they may be its voice. So take a breath, close your eyes, picture the rainforest, alive with sound, yet cloaked in mystery. This is where our story begins. A journey not just through geography or history, but into the heart of an ancient people whose very existence challenges what we think we know about civilization, survival, and the soul of the earth. Stay with us as the Crit Stories takes you deeper into the unknown. The idea of first contact has always fascinated the human imagination. It's a dramatic moment when two vastly different worlds collide, a spark igniting between the known and the unknown. For the Yanomami, that moment came not with fanfare, but with confusion, fear, and eventually pain. Long before any helicopters whirred over the canopy or cameras captured their faces, the Yanomami thrived in near total seclusion. Their isolation was not accidental. The dense Amazon provided natural defenses few could overcome. For generations, the tribe's only encounters were with neighboring indigenous groups, with whom they shared both trade and conflict. But the outside world, the world of industrialized nations and colonizing forces, had no place in their understanding of reality. That changed in the 20th century. In the 1940s and 50s, as Brazil began to modernize its interior, expeditions pushed deeper into the Amazon. They came for resources, rubber, timber, minerals, and eventually for people. Missionaries, government agents, and anthropologists all began to hear whispers of an uncontacted tribe deep in the jungle. Some were motivated by faith, others by science, and a few by curiosity. None fully understood what their arrival would unleash. One of the most famous figures associated with the Yanomami contact was American anthropologist Napoleon Shagnon. In 1964, Shagnon stepped into a Yanomami village with a camera, a notebook, and a desire to understand what he believed was a glimpse into humanity's ancient past. What he found stunned him: a society where warfare was common, where men sought status through strength, and where spiritual life wove itself through daily survival. Shagnon described the Yanomami as the fierce people, emphasizing their internal conflicts, ritual battles, and competitive hierarchy. His portrayal ignited controversy, hailed by some as groundbreaking anthropology and condemned by others as a deeply flawed and harmful caricature. But Shagnon wasn't the first to visit, and he wouldn't be the last. Christian missionaries arrived too, bringing with them not only Bibles but also diseases to which the Yanomami had no immunity. Influenza, measles, and malaria tore through villages like invisible predators. What had taken nature thousands of years to shape, foreign contact could destroy in days. From the Yanomami perspective, these strangers were both intriguing and terrifying. Some were kind and gave gifts, pots, tools, and medicine. Others brought destruction, sickness, division, and the slow unraveling of a self-contained world. Their cosmology had no concept of outsiders. Spirits known as Zaporite danced in their visions, seen by shamans who consumed hallucinogenic powders to speak with a forest soul. But how could even the most powerful shaman prepare for the thunder of machines, or the metallic glint of a rifle, or the cold, sterile sting of a hypodermic needle? And yet, for all the disruption, the Yanomami observed. They watched. They adapted, not by giving in, but by retreating further into the forest or cautiously negotiating with outsiders. Trust was earned sparingly. It still is. The tragedy of first contact is that it is rarely mutual. One side sees opportunity. The other sees invasion. And for the Yanomami, that first contact was not a moment frozen in time. It was the beginning of a long, painful series of transformations. Languages began to merge. Rituals shifted. Villages were abandoned. And in some cases, entire generations were lost to disease or assimilation. Still, within the shadows of these encounters lies resilience. Some Yanomami leaders began to emerge who could bridge both worlds. Men like Davi Kopenawa, a powerful shaman and tireless advocate, who used the language of the outsider to protect the beliefs of his own. He would become a voice, not just for his people, but for the forest itself. In the wake of these early encounters, a new kind of mystery took root. How could a people so untouched by modernity absorb it and resist it at the same time? What did they see in us that we failed to see in ourselves? As the 20th century wore on, the rainforests continued to shrink, and the Yanomami's world faced increasing threats. But their story, their mystery, was only just beginning to emerge from the jungle. In our next episode, we'll journey beyond the contact and into the core of Yanomami life, their homes, families, and rituals, and uncover how an ancient society sustains itself in perfect harmony with one of the most dangerous and beautiful ecosystems on Earth. Stay with us. The mystery deepens. To understand the Yanomami is to understand the forest, not as a backdrop, but as a living, breathing world in which every leaf whispers and every river sings. Here, the rainforest is not merely a setting. It is a character, the central figure in a story older than maps, older than memory. The Yanomami people, numbering around 35,000, live in scattered villages across a stretch of the Amazon that straddles northern Brazil and southern Venezuela. Each village is built around a central structure known as a shabono, a massive, circular communal dwelling constructed from palm leaves, vines, and wood. Open to the sky at the center, the shabono resembles a sunwheel, a reflection of how the Yanomami see themselves. Part of a unified circle bound in nature and each other. Within the shabono, daily life unfolds in rhythmic harmony. Families occupy sections of the circle, demarcated by invisible social borders. Meals are cooked on small fires. Children roam freely under the canopy's watchful eye, and elders tell stories of spirits and ancestors long gone. There is no electricity, no written language. And yet, there is structure, a complex web of social roles, responsibilities, and relationships that bind the tribe together with invisible thread. Time, as we know it, does not exist here. There are no hours, only cycles of rain and drought, hunting and harvesting, birth and death. The Yanomami rise with the sun and sleep when the jungle sleeps. Their lives are tuned to the pulse of the forest, a pulse that remains inaudible to most of the outside world. Food comes from the land, and so do tools, medicines, and even toys. Men hunt monkeys, birds, and wild pigs using bows crafted from palm wood and arrows tipped with sharpened bone. Women tend small gardens of bananas, manioc, and sweet potatoes, planted in clearings cut from the forest but never exploited. Every act, from fishing in a river to harvesting a tree's bark, is guided by unwritten laws of respect and restraint. And then there are the rituals, powerful, evocative, and often misunderstood by outsiders. Death, for example, is not an end but a transformation. When a Yanomami dies, the body is burned, and the bones are ground into powder and mixed with fermented bananas to be consumed by the community. This ritual, known as endocannibalism, is not an act of savagery, but of remembrance. The belief is simple. By consuming the ashes, the spirit of the deceased lives on within the living. It is communion, not consumption. Leadership within the tribe is not determined by wealth or force. It is earned through wisdom, bravery, and charisma. The village headman, often an elder, settles disputes, leads ceremonies, and speaks with the shamans. But his power is not absolute. If his leadership falters, the village may split. A new shabono built deeper into forest, like seeds scattered by a windstorm. Marriage is a vital part of social structure, often arranged to strengthen alliances between families and communities. Polygamy is common, and wives typically marry into their husband's village. Despite the patriarchal leanings of Yanomami society, women hold vital roles. As caregivers, cultivators, and keepers of tradition, their work sustains life and lineage. Conflict, both internal and external, is an undeniable part of Yanomami life. Inter-village warfare, once more common, was often sparked by disputes over women, territory, or revenge. These conflicts could lead to dramatic raids and even death, but they were also governed by strict cultural codes. In recent decades, exposure to outside influences has shifted the nature of these conflicts, introducing new tensions and new enemies. Still, the foundation of Yanomami life is built on cooperation. In the jungle, survival depends not on the strength of the individual, but on the unity of the group. Elders care for the young. Hunters share meat across families. And when illness strikes, the entire village gathers to heal, not just with herbs, but with song, smoke, and the powerful visions of a shaman. The Yanomami language, fluid, tonal, and utterly unique, has no word for wild or wilderness. To them, the forest is not wild. It is home. They do not separate themselves from it. They do not seek to tame it. They exist within it, as another species in the endless choir of the Amazon. This integration of culture and ecology, belief and biology, may be what most deeply defines the Yanomami, and perhaps it's what we, the modern world, have most to learn from. In the next segment, we'll delve into the spiritual realm of the Yanomami, a world alive with invisible spirits, ancestral echoes, and shamanic journeys that blur the line between reality and dream. The forest speaks, and through the Yanomami, we begin to understand its voice. In the dense emerald depths of the Amazon, there exists a world that cannot be seen by the uninitiated, a realm of spirits, shadows, and ancestral forces that shape the Yanomami's every action. To them, reality is layered. The visible and invisible, the earthly and ethereal, are forever entwined. This is not mythology for entertainment. It is a living belief system, guiding daily life, illness, health, and even death. At the heart of Yanomami spirituality is a belief in Zaparipe, spirits of the forest, mountains, animals, and ancestors. These spirits are not distant gods, but active participants in the world. They hover in the trees, dwell in rivers, swirl in the smoke of fires, and only the shamans, known as pies, can communicate with them. To become a shaman is not a choice. It is a calling, often one that comes through sickness, dreams, or signs in the forest. The training is arduous, involving months or even years of isolation, fasting, and ritual. The novice must learn to see beyond sight, and for that, they use a sacred substance called yakuana. Yakuana, a hallucinogenic powder made from the bark of a specific tree, is blown into the shaman's nostrils through a long reed. The experience is intense, not recreational, but sacred. Under its influence, the shaman soul is said to leave his body and travel into the spirit world. There, he meets the Zaporite, learns their songs, and negotiates with them on behalf of his people. The spirits themselves are many and varied. Some beautiful, glittering beings who dance in light. Others, darker forces who can bring sickness and misfortune. They appear as animals, insects, elements. A jaguar may be a protector, a swarm of bees a warning. Each has its role, its power, and its place in the cosmic order. When a Yanomami falls ill, it is often believed to be the result of spiritual imbalance. Perhaps a hostile shaman from another village sent a curse. Or maybe a Zaporite was angered by disrespect. The role of the shaman, then, is not just to treat the body, but to realign the spiritual world. He sings to the spirits, negotiates their mercy, and restores harmony. These ceremonies can last all night, filled with chanting, smoke, and trembling ecstasy. One of the central myths among the Yanomami is the tale of Omama and Yosi, two brothers who shaped the world. Omama was a creator, a benevolent force who taught the Yanomami how to plant crops, make tools, and live in balance with the forest. Yosi, his opposite, brought chaos and death. This duality, creation and destruction, echoes through their worldview. For every spirit of healing, there is one of harm. Balance is everything. Another important spiritual concept is Ikura, tiny helper spirits who aid the shaman during his visions. These are not metaphors. They are considered real entities, and each shaman cultivates his own relationship with a host of Ikura over his lifetime. Their songs, once learned, become spiritual tools, weapons against illness, despair, and death. The Yanomami believe that the forest itself is a sacred being. It remembers, it feels, and it reacts. When trees are cut unnecessarily or animals are hunted disrespectfully, the balance is disturbed. And when outsiders, miners, loggers, invaders, violate this harmony, the consequences are both physical and spiritual. Disease, environmental collapse, and social unrest are not just material problems. They are the cries of a wounded world spirit. Death, too, is deeply spiritual. As described earlier, the Yanomami practice endocannibalism, consuming the ashes of their dead mixed into banana soup. But this ritual has a purpose: to release the spirit of the dead into the cosmos, ensuring it does not linger and cause harm. Mourning songs, chants, and ceremonies accompany this process, guiding the soul on its journey and binding the community in shared grief and memory. It is a worldview vastly different from modern science, but no less complex. In fact, many anthropologists now recognize the depth and sophistication of indigenous spiritual systems, like the Yanomamis, not as primitive beliefs, but as intricate frameworks for understanding the world and surviving within it. The real mystery is not whether these spirits are real in the empirical sense, but how they shape a society's ethics, behaviors, and resilience. For the Yanomami, these spirits are not separate from the jungle. They are the jungle, and in honoring them, the people have maintained a delicate harmony that has lasted for millennia. But what happens when that balance is broken? When bulldozers roll through sacred groves and rivers run red with mercury? In the next segment, we'll confront the dark reality of intrusion, illegal gold mining, deforestation, and the invisible war threatening the very soul of the Yanomami. The spirits are watching, and they are not silent. The Yanomami people have lived in harmony with the Amazon rainforest for thousands of years. But in recent decades, an enemy has emerged, not in the form of mythical beasts or tribal rivals, but machines, men, and greed. The invasion of their homeland didn't come with the roar of battle cries, but with the grinding whir of chainsaws and the clinking of gold pans in dark riverbeds. It came not as a wave, but as a slow, relentless seepage, poisoning rivers, leveling trees, and bringing ghosts in the form of disease and despair. The primary culprit? Illegal gold mining, a devastating industry that continues to plague the Yanomami territory despite protective laws and international attention. The lure of the Amazon's hidden treasures has attracted thousands of miners, known as Garimpiros, who descend into Yanomami lands with boats, mercury, and rifles. For them, the rainforest is not sacred. It is a gold field, a resource to be stripped and sold. These miners carve roads deep into once pristine wilderness, bringing with them not only environmental destruction, but also violence and exploitation. Trees fall, rivers are dredged, and mercury, used to extract gold from sediment, seeps into water systems, contaminating fish and drinking sources. Mercury poisoning has become a silent killer, damaging nervous systems, especially among children. The shimmering gold they seek leaves behind invisible scars, neurological disorders, infertility, and poisoned futures. For the Yanomami, who rely on the forest for everything from food to medicine, the consequences are catastrophic. Hunting grounds are disrupted. Sacred sites are desecrated. Animals flee. Plants wither, and the spiritual balance collapses. It is not just a physical invasion. It is a cultural and spiritual one. The threat is not new. The 1980s saw a gold rush that brought more than 40,000 miners into Yanomami lands. Within a few short years, entire communities were decimated by diseases to which they had no immunity. Measles, influenza, malaria. Some villages lost half their populations in months. These epidemics were not accidental. They were a byproduct of greed, indifference, and systemic failure. In 1992, under pressure from activists and indigenous rights groups, the Brazilian government officially demarcated the Yanomami indigenous territory, granting legal protection to over 96,000 square kilometers of rainforest. It was a major victory, on paper, but enforcement was weak. Corruption, underfunded agencies, and shifting political winds allowed the miners to return, like shadows slipping through cracks. And when they return, they don't come alone. With them come alcohol, prostitution, drugs, and guns. Social fabric tears under the strain. Young Yanomami are lured into exploitative labor. Women face violence. Entire villages become destabilized, forced to choose between resistance and retreat. Violent clashes between miners and tribes have escalated in recent years. In some instances, armed Garimpiros have opened fire on Yanomami villagers, killing elders and children alike. Survivors speak of helicopters circling above, of bodies left in rivers, of fear growing like mold in the corners of the Shabono. It's not just a crime against the Yanomami. It's a crime against humanity. Why does this continue? The answers are complex, tangled in economics, politics, and power. Brazil's leadership in recent years has been accused of turning a blind eye, or worse, encouraging exploitation under the guise of development. Anti-indigenous rhetoric, slashed environmental budgets, and legal rollbacks have emboldened illegal miners. Meanwhile, those who try to stop it, journalists, activists, even health workers, face threats, intimidation, and murder. But the Yanomami are not silent. They resist. Elders speak out. Young leaders organize. International allies amplify their voices. Indigenous organizations document abuses, lobby courts, and confront government complacency. In 2022 and 2023, new reports and satellite images revealed more than 20,000 illegal miners operating inside protected Yanomami territory, prompting outrage but little meaningful change. The stakes are not just environmental or humanitarian. They are existential. If the forest dies, the Yanomami die with it. And if the Yanomami vanish, we lose more than a people. We lose a living connection to our planet's oldest wisdom. Their survival is tied to the lungs of the earth, and so, by extension, is ours. In the face of such tragedy, one might ask, what keeps the Yanomami going? What gives them strength when the world seems to forget them? The answer lies in community, culture, and the unbreakable link to their ancestors and spirits. In the next segment, we'll journey deeper into the role of leadership and healing among the Yanomami, how shamans and elders stand as sentinels between tradition and survival in a world that seeks to erase them. The forest is crying. The people are listening. But is the world? Amidst the encroaching shadows of destruction and disease, the Yanomami's spiritual and cultural leaders stand as fierce guardians of their people and their land. These are the shamans, the elders, and the storytellers, the keepers of ancient wisdom and the living bridge between past, present, and future. The role of the page, the shaman, is sacred and multifaceted. Beyond being spiritual mediators who communicate with the forest spirits, shamans serve as healers, counselors, and protectors of tribal identity. Their knowledge extends far beyond what modern medicine often recognizes. An intimate understanding of medicinal plants, mental and spiritual health, and the social harmony necessary for survival. In times of crisis, whether caused by illness, conflict, or intrusion, shamans undertake ritual journeys into the spirit world using yakuana, the powerful hallucinogenic snuff. Through these visions, they seek guidance, healing, and solutions that physical means alone cannot provide. These trance-like states are not escapism, but a form of deep connection, tapping into the collective memory of the tribe and the forest itself. But shamans are only part of the story. Elders, revered for their experience and wisdom, hold social authority grounded in respect rather than force. Their memories carry the history of migrations, treaties, and ancestral spirits. Elders counsel young leaders, mediate disputes, and maintain the oral traditions that ensure the tribe's survival. Together, shamans and elders form the heart of the Yanomami community, especially during times of turmoil. As gold miners, disease, and deforestation threaten their existence, these leaders embody resilience, blending old knowledge with new challenges. The fight for survival is not only physical, but cultural. Education is central. While many Yanomamis learn Spanish or Portuguese in nearby towns, there's a growing movement within the tribe to preserve and pass down the Yanomami language and customs to younger generations. Without this, the tribe risks losing its unique identity, becoming another forgotten victim of globalization. Resistance takes many forms. Some shamans lead ceremonies designed to strengthen the spirit of the tribe, instilling courage and hope. Others have become activists, working with NGOs and international organizations to raise awareness about their plight. Villages hold meetings to strategize against illegal miners, sometimes coordinating with governmental agencies or indigenous federations. This resistance is fragile and dangerous. Those who stand up against miners risk retaliation. Yet, the Yanomami's determination is unyielding. They understand that the battle is not only for their land, but for the survival of a way of life, a worldview that honors balance, respect, and connection with the earth. One powerful example comes from Davi Kopenawa Yanomami, a renowned shaman and spokesperson for his people. Since the 1980s, Kopenawa has traveled the world, speaking to governments, environmental groups, and the public to defend Yanomami rights and the rainforest. He calls the destruction a sickness of the white man and urges urgent action. Davi's message is clear. The forest is not just a resource. It is the source of life, identity, and spirituality. Protecting it means protecting all of us. As the Yanomami face unprecedented threats, their leaders are navigating an uncertain future, balancing the preservation of ancient traditions with the demands of the modern world. Will their voices be heard before it's too late? In the next segment, we will explore how outside allies, scientists, activists, and legal defenders have joined the Yanomami in their struggle, forming unlikely partnerships in the fight to save both tribe and rainforest. The guardians stand tall, but the fight for the Amazon has only just begun. While the Yanomami confront threats within their territory, a growing network of allies beyond the Amazon has risen to support their fight. Scientists, environmentalists, indigenous rights activists, and legal defenders have stepped into the shadows, often risking their own safety, to help protect the Yanomami people and their ancestral home. Among these allies are anthropologists and ethnobotanists who have spent decades living with the Yanomami, documenting their culture, language, and medicinal knowledge. Their work is crucial in preserving a rich cultural heritage that faces extinction under external pressures. By publishing their findings and collaborating with indigenous leaders, they help amplify the Yanomami's voice on the world stage. Environmental organizations like Survival International, Amazon Watch, and the Rainforest Foundation have been at the forefront of campaigns to expose illegal mining and deforestation. Using satellite imagery, drone footage, and on-the-ground reports, they document the ongoing devastation and pressure governments to act. Social media and digital platforms have become vital tools in rallying global public opinion and raising funds to support indigenous communities. Legal battles have also played a pivotal role. In 2020, a landmark decision by the Brazilian Supreme Court reaffirmed the rights of indigenous peoples to their lands, blocking attempts to open protected areas to mining and agriculture. Indigenous organizations, backed by international human rights laws, have filed lawsuits to prevent incursions and demand reparations for damages. Though progress is slow and fraught with setbacks, these victories represent crucial steps in safeguarding the Yanomami's future. Yet, the struggle is perilous. Activists and journalists reporting on illegal mining face threats, harassment, and violence. Some have been murdered, and many operate under constant fear. The remoteness of the Amazon and lack of infrastructure make monitoring and enforcement difficult, allowing illegal activities to continue under the radar. Scientific research has also revealed the global significance of the Amazon rainforest and the Yanomami territory. It is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, home to countless species, many undiscovered or undocumented. Its trees act as a giant carbon sink, absorbing vast amounts of CO2 and helping regulate the planet's climate. Protecting the Yanomami and their land is thus not only a matter of indigenous rights, but a crucial environmental imperative for all humanity. Collaborations between Yanomami leaders and these external allies have produced innovative approaches to conservation. Community-led monitoring programs train Yanomami youth to use GPS and drones, enabling them to report illegal activity in real time. Educational exchanges help build capacity within the tribe, blending traditional knowledge with modern technology. But this alliance is more than just strategy. It is a meeting of worlds. For many who visit the Yanomami, the encounter is transformative, revealing a worldview that challenges assumptions about progress, nature, and humanity's place on Earth. Despite the risks and ongoing threats, hope persists. The Yanomami story has inspired international campaigns, documentaries, and books, bringing their plight to millions. Their resilience, their ability to adapt while holding fast identity, continues to captivate and motivate. As we look to the future, the question remains, can this fragile coalition between indigenous guardians and external allies withstand the pressures of politics, economics, and environmental crisis? Can it forge a path to survival for the Yanomami and the Amazon? In the next segment, we will delve into the Yanomami's unique connection with the rainforest ecology, how their deep knowledge of plants, animals, and cycles offers lessons in sustainable living and conservation. In the shadows of destruction, light flickers, a testament to the power of solidarity. The Yanomami people are not just inhabitants of the Amazon rainforest. They are its caretakers, living in a symbiotic relationship with the land that stretches back thousands of years. Their deep ecological knowledge and sustainable practices offer invaluable lessons in how humans can coexist with nature without destroying it. Unlike many modern societies, the Yanomami do not see the forest as a resource to be exploited, but as a living, breathing entity imbued with spirits and life force. Every tree, river, animal, and plant hold meaning and purpose within their cosmology. This worldview shapes their daily lives, guiding hunting, farming, and gathering practices with respect and mindfulness. The Yanomami practice swidden agriculture, a method of small-scale, rotational farming often called slash and burn, but practiced sustainably. They clear small patches of forest to cultivate crops, such as manioc, bananas, and sweet potatoes. After a few years, the land is left fallow, allowing the forest to regenerate naturally. This cycle preserves biodiversity, prevents soil exhaustion, and maintains a balance of ecosystem. Their hunting practices are equally regulated by tradition. The Yanomami hunt only what they need, following rules set by elders and shamans to avoid overhunting certain species. They use blowguns, bows, and arrows, which allow for selective targeting and minimal disturbance. The respect for animals extends to rituals that honor the spirits of the hunted, ensuring harmony between humans and the forest creatures. Medicinal knowledge is another remarkable aspect of Yanomami ecology. Their shamans and healers possess an extensive understanding of plants with healing properties, many of which are still unknown to modern science. From anti-inflammatory herbs to potent treatments for infections and spiritual ailments, this pharmacopoeia is passed down orally through generations. Scientific collaborations have confirmed the effectiveness of many Yanomami remedies, highlighting the importance of preserving both the tribe's knowledge and their habitat. As deforestation and mining threaten the forest, these precious medicinal plants face extinction, taken with them potential cures and secrets hidden for millennia. The Yanomami also maintain an intricate knowledge of the rainforest cycles, the seasonal movement of animals, flowering times of plants, and changes in river currents. This knowledge informs their timing for planting, harvesting, and ceremonies, aligning human activity with nature's rhythms. This ecological wisdom is not static. It evolves as the Yanomami adapt to new challenges. For example, They have incorporated sustainable fishing practices and developed strategies to protect their water sources from contamination. Their ability to blend tradition with innovation is key to their resilience. But this wisdom is under threat. Illegal mining and logging disrupt the delicate balance, poisoning rivers, displacing animals, and destroying the forest canopy. The loss is not just ecological but cultural, a rupture that threatens the Yanomami's very identity. Recognizing this, international conservation efforts increasingly focus on empowering indigenous communities as stewards of biodiversity. Studies show that indigenous managed lands often have lower rates of deforestation and higher levels of species preservation compared to protected areas managed solely by governments. The Yanomami exemplify this principle. Their survival and that of the Amazon rainforest are deeply intertwined. Protecting one means protecting the other. Yet, their role as guardians is often overlooked or marginalized in global environmental discourse. Modern development models frequently exclude indigenous perspectives, prioritizing economic gains over cultural and ecological integrity. As the world grapples with climate change, biodiversity loss, and environmental degradation, the Yanomami's traditional ecological knowledge offers a powerful reminder. Sustainability is not just about technology or policy, but about respect, balance, and living in harmony with the natural world. In the next segment, we will explore the profound spiritual beliefs that connect the Yanomami to the Amazon, how their myths, rituals, and cosmology shape their understanding of life, death, and the invisible forces around them. In the heart of the forest, wisdom grows, ancient, alive, and urgently needed. For the Yanomami, the Amazon rainforest is not merely a physical environment. It is a sacred realm inhabited by spirits, ancestors, and powerful forces that shape every aspect of life. Their rich cosmology weaves together myth, ritual, and everyday existence, creating a world where the visible and invisible coexist in a delicate balance. Central to Yanomami belief is the idea that the forest is alive with spirits, both benevolent and dangerous. These spirits influence hunting success, health, weather, and social harmony. Respecting and communicating with them is essential for survival. This is a domain of the page, or shaman, who serves as the mediator between humans and the spirit world. Yanomami myths tell creation stories that explain the origins of the tribe, the forest, and the animals. One common theme is the transformation of ancestral beings into natural elements, rivers, mountains, animals, a reminder that all life is interconnected and sacred. These stories are passed down orally through songs, chants, and ceremonies, binding generations together. The ritual life of the Yanomami is vibrant and complex. Ceremonies mark important events such as the hunting season, healing rites, initiation of young men, and funerals. These events involve singing, dancing, and the use of hallucinogenic substances to induce trance states, allowing shamans to journey into the spirit world for guidance and healing. One powerful ritual is the Rihu, a communal feast involving the sharing of food and the performance of songs that recount tribal history and cosmology. It is a time of social bonding and spiritual renewal, reinforcing the tribe's identity and cohesion. Death is a profound moment in Yanomami cosmology. The spirit of the deceased is believed to journey to the underworld, and the living must perform rituals to ensure safe passage and prevent harm to the community. These beliefs foster a deep respect for ancestors and the cyclical nature of life and death. The concept of Akura spirits is also vital. These are spirit beings that shamans communicate with to obtain power, knowledge, and healing. The relationship between shamans and Akura is reciprocal. Shamans must care for and respect these spirits or face consequences. This spiritual worldview shapes how the Yanomami interact with their environment and each other. It fosters a profound sense of responsibility and interconnectedness. The forest is not a resource to be exploited, but a living community of which humans are part. However, this delicate balance is threatened by external forces that disregard or misunderstand these beliefs. The intrusion of miners, missionaries, and settlers often brings cultural disruption, sometimes forcibly converting or suppressing indigenous spiritual practices. Despite this, the Yanomami remain deeply connected to their cosmology. Their rituals and myths are acts of resistance, affirming their identity and relationship with the Amazon even in the face of adversity. Their spiritual knowledge is increasingly recognized for its ecological significance. Many scholars and environmentalists argue that indigenous cosmologies like the Yanomami's can inspire more holistic approaches to conservation, blending science with spirituality. As the world searches for ways to heal environmental damage, the voices and wisdom of the Yanomami shamans and elders offer a path to a renewed respect for nature's mysteries. In our final segment, we will reflect on the future of the Yanomami tribe, the challenges and hopes that lie ahead as they strive to protect their land, culture, and legacy in a rapidly changing world. The spirits of the Amazon whisper timeless truths, if only we listen. As we conclude our journey into the mystery and wonder of the Yanomami tribe and their home in the Amazon, it's clear that their story is one of resilience, profound wisdom, and urgent struggle. But what does the future hold for this ancient people in a world that seems increasingly hostile to their existence? The challenges facing the Yanomami today are unprecedented. Illegal gold mining continues to ravage their land, leaving rivers poisoned with mercury and forests stripped bare. Disease outbreaks, exacerbated by lack of access to health care and contact with outsiders, pose constant threats to their communities. Climate change adds a new layer of uncertainty, altering weather patterns, affecting crops, and disrupting the delicate ecological balance the Yanomami have depended on for generations. Politically, the Yanomami navigate a complex landscape. While some government policies recognize indigenous rights and territories, enforcement is often weak or inconsistent. Corruption, political shifts, and economic pressures frequently undermine protections. The Yanomami themselves face pressure to assimilate or abandon traditional ways in favor of modern lifestyles, which risks eroding their cultural identity. Yet, amid these challenges, hope endures. The Yanomami's determination to protect their land and culture remains unbroken. Younger generations are increasingly involved in activism and advocacy, using technology to communicate their message to the world. Organizations inside and outside Brazil continue to support their efforts, pushing for stronger legal safeguards and sustainable development models. Education plays a critical role in this future. Many Yanomami children now attend bilingual schools that teach both traditional knowledge and Portuguese, equipping them to engage with broader society while preserving their heritage. Cultural revitalization programs encourage the transmission of language, rituals, and stories, keeping the tribe's rich traditions alive. International awareness and solidarity have grown as well. Documentaries, books, and media coverage have brought the Yanomami's plight to a global audience, inspiring support and activism. Global climate discussions increasingly acknowledge the importance of indigenous stewardship for preserving the world's rainforests. Innovative partnerships are emerging, combining indigenous knowledge with scientific research to develop sustainable conservation and health initiatives. These collaborations honor the Yanomami's role as custodians of the Amazon while addressing the practical challenges of survival in a modern world. Ultimately, the fate of the Yanomami is tied to the fate of the Amazon itself, a symbol of life, diversity, and the interconnectedness of all beings. Protecting their land means protecting a vital part of our planet's future. As we reflect on the Yanomami story, we are reminded of profound lessons they offer, that wisdom is found in respect for nature, that survival requires both tradition and adaptation, and that the voices of the most vulnerable hold power beyond measure. The mystery of the Yanomami is not just about secrets hidden deep in the Amazon. It is about a living culture striving to endure, a people whose knowledge and spirit are treasures for all humanity. Thank you for joining the Crit Stories on this exploration of the Yanomami tribe's mysteries, struggles, and hopes. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, and share to help raise awareness of the incredible peoples and stories that shape our world. Until next time, stay curious, and remember, every story holds a key to understanding our shared human journey.